Yeah. You gotta work. You gotta work, grind, shine, it's mine. Gotta show everybody it's my time. Getting here, you gotta work, grind, shine. Never mind who talking down, cause they lying. Don't talk, you gotta work.
Let the conversation begin. This is Let's Talk with your host, Carl Lee.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Carl Lee with Let's Talk, and my co-host here today is Hollis Lewis, as everybody knows. And we have a great guest for a great topic. Today we have Andrew Wright, who is the owner and operator of Alpha Prime Fitness, which is based out of Hurricane, correct?
That's correct.
And Andrew is a biomedical scientist with over 25 years of experience in the field of medicine, physical fitness, and bodybuilding. I'm interested in that.
Okay.
So I'm going to open it this way, Hollis.
Yo.
We have a lot of kids, a lot of adults that train. They figure out what they want to do, how they want to do it, and they go out and they start to train, and they use that as, you know, that's what's going to make me better.
Right.
But then on the other side, I think the newest thing that I think is happening is games. I want more games. I want to play well in a game. Games are the thing that are going to make me better. But before we go and jump into all of that, because I'm really curious to see what you think about those types of things. But I think at the core of everything is the nutrition piece.
Correct.
People, what you eat and how you eat, all of those things matter. So introduced to, let's say I've got a kid. He's training, he's playing, he's doing all this. We don't have no nutritional plan.
And does that matter for younger athletes?
Yes. Okay. So one of the biggest problems in the entire industry with regards to physical fitness, any endeavor you enter into to change your body, whether it be as an athlete, someone just trying to lose weight, someone trying to cure diabetes, okay, anything, okay, where you're trying to improve the condition or health of your body, okay, nutrition should be the absolute foundational aspect of it. And what aggravates me personally as a professional in the industry with regards to student athletes at the junior high, middle school, or high school level is that it's not even really considered. You know, they're still eating super donuts and pizza, you know, for breakfast and lunch. But if you do go to the elite university level, they understand this. Like when I went to WVU and studied exercise physiology up there, when I would go to the Commons area to eat, you know, you had a meal plan when you lived at Towers up there at WVU. There was a normal people line, and then there was the football player line.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. And
the football players had a very specific nutrition plan that they had to follow. So it's understood at the university level that all of the training, all of the preparation, all of the high impact activity that they place on the human body, okay, if there is not a foundational nutritional approach given, then the body will tear down and injuries will take place and progress is not only improbable, it's impossible.
Well, let me ask this question. I've got a 11-year-old.
Okay.
And we're playing sports. We may even be traveling. We may be doing all of those kinds of things.
Right.
And sometimes what we do is we eat out.
Yep.
You know, after the game or, you know, any of that. We haven't prepped any kind of food prior to the weekend of the game. It's getting started.
Yes.
What am I risking with my child?
Okay, well, when you add in the fact that it's a child, okay, you have to understand from a biology perspective, from a health perspective, their organs are still growing. Their bones are still growing. From an adult perspective, we're done. You know,
right.
You know, we are where we are going to be, right? Our bone plates, you know, the growth plates in our bones are fused. Our organs are predominantly the size they're going to be. But if you take a child that's, especially at the age of 11, where they're just now going through puberty, and you place all that stress on their body, when their body's trying to figure out hormone balance, when they're trying to figure out, the body's trying to figure things out during this time to simplify things, okay? How tall someone's going to be, all these things within their DNA it's like a big biochemical soup that's taking place, and all these biochemical reactions are taking place that is for their growth. So that is an even bigger aspect with regards to this that does not apply to adults. So you're giving less consideration to nutrition to children, when in reality they should get more, because they're still maturing. They're still growing. So, does training stunt your growth? Technically, no. But with regards to what that question usually is asking, when people ask that question to me, what they're usually asking is height. That's all they're asking about is height. Will it stunt their height? Will they not get as tall if they start lifting weights? No, it's not going to have an impact on how much bone they produce. Okay. However, if you are in a nutritional deficit, whether it be amino acids, which are the building blocks of protein, whether it be healthy fatty acids, essential fatty acids, whether it be minerals required for bone deposition, right? So you have these things in your bones called osteoblasts, and they bring minerals in from your blood to form new bone tissue. If you do not have the proper mineral composition in your blood at the time, when those biochemical reactions are trying to take place, then those biochemical reactions will not occur, and you are by default stunting that children's development. I would rather use the word development as opposed to growth.
Wow. So actually proper nutrition at an early age can potentially enhance athletic ability and development and things of that nature.
Exactly. And one of the things with this is if we back up a little bit, and let's just simplify this.
Okay.
We have 5 children, all right, same age. Okay, let's say they have pretty much the same athletic ability and same genetic predisposition to success in a certain sport. And they're at that age of 11 or 12. We're talking about males, let's say.
Okay.
And they're going through that developmental stage of puberty and all these things. Now you have 4 of them, that I would even go so far as to say we have 5 identical twins. So their DNA is exactly the same. Okay, so they're exactly the same. They're basically the same individual. Okay, and you take 4 of them and you do what normal parents, normal school systems, normal coaches do, with is basically a complete randomization to nutritional intake. It is completely random. And random is insane when you're trying to talk about health, especially when you're talking about advanced athletics. So you take one of the 5 and you put him on a very specific, not caloric intake, a nutritional intake, where they have the exact same level of essential amino acids coming in every day, the exact same level of essential fatty acids coming in every day. You time the carbohydrates around their training so that they're having the proper carbohydrates at the proper times. You keep track of the child's body fat. You keep track of the child's athletic performance. You write everything down like a science experiment. You give them everything that you've got. When you get to the end of 5 years, who do you think's going D1?
Probably that kid.
That's
number 5.
Right. Exactly. So if we know that, if that's common sense, then why do we give almost zero consideration to prepping a child's nutritional intake?
I was going to say, I think it's because we don't think about it.
Yeah.
No.
That parent doesn't think about it. We think it's all about the crossover, all about the touchdown passes, training, and all of that. I think the mistake that we all have made and are continuously making is we're thinking that D1 opportunity is more about me, regardless of what I eat. I'm out there training. I'm running in the morning. I'm lifting in the evening, and then playing travel ball and playing football, and I'm doing all these kind of things, getting tape,
right,
getting on film so somebody can see me, and I'm not at all, as the adult or the child, let's call him the athlete, is even thinking about the nutritional piece. Just take me to Wendy's on the way home and get me a burger.
I think it's education, because I don't think, like I said, we've been athletes. All 3 of us have been athletes our whole lives, and I could tell you, like, I've never even considered that. Obviously, when I was older at college, you consider those things, but like being a coach and you're talking about young athletes and even my own daughters, like I never really considered that as far as in relation to athletic development, because I guess the theory or the thought process was they're young, they eat what they want, they're burning off. It's not really affecting them maybe until you get a little older, and we see kind of those habits compound on themselves. But I never consider as far as in the development stage.
Yeah, and when I have parents bring me their kids to train, and I have quite a few kids that I've trained over the years to improve their sports performance. This is what I like to explain to them, especially the kids. Like, you still need to be a kid, okay? Like, you still need to be able to eat your Taco Bell when you want it, okay? Yeah. But have that in addition to required nutritional intake. Have the nutritional intake in there. Have your nutrition down to where you know what you're eating for meal 1, meal 2, meal 3, meal 4, meal 5. You need to have regular intervals of nutritional intake throughout the day for your body to be supplied with all of the building blocks required. I think it is absolute insanity to approach this the way that you guys are talking about. And again, it's not your fault. It's not the parents' fault. But if you think that you're 12 years old, 13 years old, and you're going to stay up all night playing Xbox, and you're going to eat Super Donuts for breakfast, and you're going to drink Mountain Dew all day, and you're going to get some Taco Bell for lunch, and you're going to have pizza for dinner or whatever mom and pop cooks when you get home, okay? And you're going to live that type of lifestyle. And then once you get to a D1 school, then you'll do D1 level stuff. That's like saying, I'm going to go to the NFL, and I'm going to live like an NFL player once I get to the NFL. No, the people that get to the NFL start living like they're already an NFL superstar when they're like 15, 16, 17 years old. You know as well as I do, the kid that is a terror is the kid that is like going home. He's doing all the extra work. He's watching what he's eating. He's drinking water. He doesn't drink pop. He's the guy that does the extra stuff. That's the story just about everywhere you go. Right, exactly. Well, like you mentioned before we went on there, you mentioned me in high school, right? So it's like, what was I doing? Like, I was already a bodybuilder.
Skim milk, eggs, chicken, no skin, bananas.
Right. And I was doing that when I was 13, 14 years old because I wanted to be a bodybuilder. I wanted to be like Arnold, right? So I started living that lifestyle then when all the other kids were going out, staying out all night. And I was like, I got to be in bed at 10. I have to get 9 hours of sleep.
And also, in addition to athletic development, body development, different things of that nature, there's probably some mental benefits to, like you said, and I think getting sleep is probably number 2 next to nutrition we don't necessarily think about. So when you talk about getting proper nutrition, getting sleep, that probably helps you your mental aspect as well.
So let's talk about this from a science perspective, because I like to kind of break it down that way, because a lot of people don't think of it that way, unfortunately.
I don't, and let me jump in right there.
Yes.
I don't think that there is the concept of the parent and the athlete, him or herself, even consider.
They don't know.
They don't consider that there is a science behind this whole process. They think it is score a bunch of touchdowns, shoot a bunch of threes, and get 6'4", and we're on our way.
Well, I think they consider the science. I don't think they can consider the complete science. Because what we've talked about is the athlete. Because when you're training and you're doing all this stuff, there's a science to that. But I think there's another level of science we're not considering.
I'll go so far.
Maybe. I may give you that, but go ahead.
I'll go so far as to say this. I was recently in the bathroom and I heard a personal trainer speak and talking to a guy, and I just overheard this one personal trainer say, you just have to get strong and eat. It's not science. Okay. And that it just blew my brain right out of the top of my head. Okay. And I went home and I thought about making a post about all of the science top subjects that I studied going through college, right? And all the ways that those sciences directly apply to getting in shape or sport-specific training. And then I decided it would be way more easier just to make the statement, I dare anyone out there to show me one facet of this that is not somehow based in some scientific discipline. All of it is science. Every single thing involved with this is somehow based in some discipline within the realm of science in ways that people don't even conceptualize, okay? Like, here's one that drives me crazy that you guys might be interested in. So if I bring you a 12-year-old, right, and he wants to play quarterback, okay, and you're going to coach him, okay, what are one of the things that you're going to have him do? Skill development, right?
Feet work, skill development.
Yeah,
Skill
all that.
development.
Yeah.
Right. Now, have any of you ever seen anyone at the high school, middle school level take the same football players into the weight room and work on actual skill development of proper execution of each exercise?
You mean exercise specifically for the skill set?
Do the bench press correctly so it doesn't damage your shoulder joints.
Right.
So that it actually stimulates muscle growth, right? And it's
I think they tried, but I don't know if they know what they're talking about because I don't know. But I think they tried.
That's what we talked about on the phone the other day.
Yeah.
Is one of the biggest problems in this industry, okay, is not the lack of knowledge. It is the illusion of knowledge. It is people that think they know what they're doing. If they don't purposefully go out and say, I'm going to do this wrong, and I'm going to teach these kids wrong, or I'm going to train my clients wrong, I'm going to train my athletes wrong. They think that they know what they're doing. It's not their fault. But the problem is that most people in this industry are not qualified. They're not qualified to have the positions that they have. I'm not saying everybody, but it is a predominant plague in this industry. I mean, the personal training industry in itself is a nightmare. I mean, it is completely unregulated. And if you have certifications, so I'm just going to put this out there. This is going to probably anger some people, but if you have a personal trainer out there right now, and they're certified by the ISSA, okay, or NASM, okay, if they have any personal training certification that's not ACE, the American Council of Exercise, or the American College of Sports Medicine, you need to fire them. Because almost every personal training certification that you can get out there is just a money grab, where they give you some books. You got to pay $600 to get the books. And then once you're ready, you get to take an online exam from home that's open book. And if you get 70%, you get a certificate that says you're a certified personal trainer. And that is insane. Because what we actually do in this field is the equivalent of what an athletic trainer should do. And this distinction between personal trainer and athletic trainer should be made, because athletic trainers are educated. They have a bachelor's degree in some type of exercise science or some science discipline, and they have to work under the supervision of a physician. Personal training is completely unregulated. It's a Wild West show. And I'm surrounded by it. We're all surrounded by personal trainers on a daily basis, people in this field that are not qualified and they're not even certified. And if you're out there right now working with a personal trainer, I challenge you to ask your personal trainer, who were you certified by, and can I see that certification? With the ACE or American College of Sports Medicine, you have to take a proctored exam. Like, you have to go to a testing facility and take a proctored exam, and it is 150 questions. And at the end, there's specific questions you have to answer on program design. Like, here's a situation with a client that comes in. You have to design a program. You have to write it out. And if you get it wrong, you don't get certified. And you have to do continuing education credits.
And that's important distinction. I'm glad you said that because I was unaware of that. So you mentioned programming. So when it's, obviously we talk a lot about football in this show. So if you had, like, let's say a wide receiver.
Yes.
Parent comes to you, they're going into the 9th grade, pretty good. I mean, we got a pretty good athlete here.
Right.
But we want to take it to the next level. Like, what are your just general thoughts without knowing specifics of how you would develop that program and kind of what you're looking for and what you would do with it?
Well, the first thing I would do is I would do some testing. Okay, so I would have them in for a consultation, and I would get detailed history, medical history. I'd take some measurements of their body fat. I know I'd do some athletic testing with regards to their height.
You said medical history?
Medical history.
Wow. Okay.
You got to do medical history on these people because you don't know.
Never heard of that.
No.
I've never heard that.
No.
Okay, well, what happens if you?
I don't know anybody who's asking that.
No,
question.
I'm just saying that's a good thing.
Yeah,
I've just never heard of a trainer ask that.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah.
Well, no, you have to do that. Like I won't train anybody unless they come in for a consult first, because I got to know what I'm working with. And there's plenty of times where some people have come in, and they want to improve their golf swing or something like that, and I'm like, okay, that's great, man. This is outside of my scope of practice. You need to go see Randy Gillespie, who's a friend of mine, who's he's got multiple college degrees in education. He travels to California, Florida, goes to seminars to learn how to be better at his craft. He's amazing at what he does, right? And conversely, if somebody wants to, get in shape, beat diabetes, or, maybe do a bodybuilding contest or certain things, he's of course going to send them to me. So it's like, you have to know what you're dealing with. It's not a one size fits all situation. Now, there are foundational principles that apply to the entire species, okay? And you can start there. But aside from that, okay, you have to be able to sit down with the wide receiver, let's say, do you have, one thing I would ask, do you have any x-rays of your femurs? I want to know how much growth, do you have, his growth plates. If his growth plates are fused, we need to take this into consideration because we don't want to mess that up. Because if he gets a break at his growth plate on one of his femurs, okay, and it doesn't heal correctly, then one leg's going to be shorter than the other. Right. These are things that, are thinking outside of the box type situations that people should think about. But to answer your question, Hollis, I got off track there. But first thing would be a medical history. Now, I would want the parent in there too. And I'll be talking to the parent. I'm like, okay, what are you going to be able to do for me with regards to the nutrition? Because the kid's not going to do it. Like the parent has to be in on it, so to speak. Yeah, they have to be involved because if the parent isn't, that's like my eyes and ears, right? Like I talk to the parent, I'm like, hey, your job is to make sure they get all this food in. Because you have to understand from a medical and a science perspective, the training is merely the stimulus that instructs the body to adapt. What we're doing, whether we're doing resistance training, whether we're doing speed agility training, whether we're doing skill development, what we're trying to do is to place stress on the physiology to trigger an adaptive response. Okay? Speed increase is an adaptive to stress. Strength increase is an adaptation to stress. Muscular hypertrophy, which is muscle growth, is an adaptation to stress. Increases in aerobic endurance, anaerobic endurance. They're adaptations to stress. So we have to take the individual, place the stress on the individual, trigger adaptation, then place the individual in the correct environment for that adaptation to occur. If the environment is not conducive to the adaptation to occurring, it will not occur. It doesn't matter how good the training is. It doesn't matter how well or how hard the kid trains. If he goes home, it's the equivalent. I like to use the analogy of you've hired the greatest construction crew in the world to build your skyscraper, and they show up to work 5 days a week. And when they get there, they don't have any bricks, they don't have any mortar, they don't have any glass, they don't have any concrete. How are you going to build your skyscraper? You've already put in all the work. You've paid them in advance. But when they get to work, they don't have any raw materials to do the building. And that's what nutrition is.
And see, and the interesting component, what was running through my head as you were saying all that is, I see a lot of people, training their kids in skill-specific things, right? Which is super important. Right?
Yes.
I mean, you got to be able to throw the football, catch the football, shoot the ball, dribble, do all those kind of things.
Right.
But the actual training aspect of it, of the athlete by himself or herself, that's more critical. Or at least it feels to me now in hearing this, that is more important than me shooting a three.
Right.
And it's different. I could go out and say, and I always have said I wanted to do a DB clinic because I want to teach like things like the bump and run and all that kind of stuff. But in that teaching, that is not training. You know what I'm saying? That's not training. And because I can show you how to do it, teach you how to do it. There's a whole host of things that you need to do that is nutritional right off the top. Right. And again, depending on how old you are and the development where you are in your development phase is critical to your ability to be able to actually do those things at a level that is let's just say that whatever the next level up is, for you to make that transition, that's going to be difficult without nutrition, the right nutrition. And then again, once we get into the actual talking about the actual training aspect of it, I'm sure that, that's a big issue too.
Yes. And let me ask you this as far as, okay, so we got this kid, he's 15, he's coming in, parents are there. So nutritionally, where does that kid start? Because they've been eating what everybody, like you said, the Super Donuts, the pizza, Taco Bell. They've been eating regular American diet. Where do they start nutritionally to turn that around?
Okay, so let's start from the top. I'm just going to run some stuff down for you. Okay, there are 3 macronutrients. Okay, that are available. Okay, there are proteins, carbohydrates, and there are fats. Okay, now we are the only country in the world that follows the food guide pyramid. The food guide pyramid tells us that we need 75% of our caloric intake daily needs to come from carbohydrates.
Yeah, and that's all bullshit. Sorry, Coach. That's crap.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, you were correct.
We all followed that and got fat.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and the reason is this. Okay, so when you talk about the macronutrients, okay, the 3 of them, okay, you have protein. Now, protein, when it's digested, protein is broken down into multiple things called polypeptides. The polypeptides are then broke down into singular peptides. Those peptides are basically a long string of amino acids that are formed together by peptide bonds. Okay? And through digestion, those bonds are chemically broken and those amino acids are slowly released into our bloodstream. The amino acids are the actual nutrient that we need. And there's a list of essential amino acids that we have to have as a species for human cellular function. There's a biological hierarchy. It's cell, tissue, organ system, then organism. For the organism to be healthy, the organ systems have to function at optimal levels. For the organ systems to function at optimal levels, all of the organs within that organ system have to function at optimal levels. And for that to occur, all the tissues that comprise each individual organ have to work at optimal levels. And for that to happen, all of the cells have to function at optimal levels. So you should feed the body based on cellular function with regards to our species. And the information is out there. I didn't invent this stuff. I just spent all this time figuring it out, right? So the way that it works is we have a specific list of essential amino acids. And when I say that phrase essential, it means 2 things. Essential to human cellular function. Our system cannot independently self-produce these things. We can't self-produce them, but we have to have them for human cells to function optimally. So they're also essential to our nutrition plan. If we don't have them, the cells aren't healthy. And then they go all the way back up the chain. The organism can't function at 100% optimal levels. Now, that applies to the essential fatty acids as well, right? Now, there is no such thing as essential glucose, right? Now, why am I saying glucose? I'm not picking dextrose or fructose or any other type of sugar. And I'm not saying sugar. I'm saying glucose. And when you talk to a layman or just a normal person about carbohydrate intake and your blood sugar level, you say the phrase blood sugar level. But when you go into the medical community, it is referred to as blood glucose. Why? Because the way it works is, as I just described, you have to break all of the macronutrients down to what's called monomer form. They're singular units where they can go through the bloodstream, reach the interstitial fluid between the cells, then attach to the receptor sites and go through the cell membranes. And once the monomer units get into the cells themselves, that's where the biochemistry happens. That's where everything takes place that we're wanting to occur, right? Now, just hang with me here. Now, just hang with me here. I'm going to bring it home, guys. I promise. Okay, right now. With regards to that process, with regards to the receptor sites on human cell membranes, we only have a receptor site for glucose. So the only form of sugar that can get into our cells is glucose. So when we're eating, when we're eating our diet, it doesn't matter. Absolutely doesn't matter what type of carbohydrate we eat. It doesn't matter whether it's potatoes, oats, pixie sticks. It doesn't matter. The end result in our bloodstream is going to be glucose. Now that we understand that glucose is the only type of sugar that human cells can use, we have a process that we can use in our liver called gluconeogenesis. Gluco meaning glucose, genesis meaning formation of, where we can take other things like fatty acids, we can run them through this process in our liver, and we can create glucose. So remember a second ago, I said there's essential amino acids, essential fatty acids, essential meaning essential to human cellular function. We cannot self-produce. Therefore, we have to have them essentially in our nutrition plan to be healthy, okay? Glucose, the only form of carbohydrate that we can use as human beings, we can self-produce. That means that the food guide pyramid that tells us that 75% of our nutrition needs to be from carbohydrates, okay? 75% is coming from a non-essential nutrient. We essentially have to have protein every few hours. We essentially have to have healthy fatty acids every few hours. Okay, for us to be healthy as our species, the way our species is evolved to eat, that's the way that it works.
Okay, I'm gonna try. And for all the listeners who may not have gotten all of the terminology,
I don't expect you to.
Yeah. Right. Give me the 100 100 history of what is this in a simplistic kind of a way.
Yes.
Where are we failing at our nutrition level on a regular daily basis if we're trying to be an athlete, we're trying to be look athletic or be a bodybuilder? Because I know the whole story behind the meal prep. My nephew, he does it. Yeah. So I understand that, but to simplify for the listeners, tell me what I need to change. Based on the norm, the norm of what we think most people do. What are they not doing, and what do we need to get? What do we need to start doing to be healthier in the training process?
Simplistically, I think the biggest problem in our country specifically, is that we don't really eat food. We eat food-like products. Okay. So the stuff that we eat, it's not really food. Okay, like it's just not healthy. Okay, so one of the main things the first thing I tell people to change is if it can sit on the shelf for 3 or 4 weeks, we're probably not going to eat it. Okay, we need to get healthy animal protein. Okay, and I'm sorry for all the vegans and the people out there that don't eat meat. Okay, but we are omnivores. We're not carnivores, and we're definitely not herbivores. With regards from an evolutionary perspective, if our skeleton was dug up 15,000 years from now, they're going to look at our teeth and they're going to see that we're omnivores, which means that from an evolutionary perspective, we need animal protein and we need some fats from additional sources and carbohydrates from plant sources as well. Okay. Now, that being said, the first thing would be to start eating real food, and the centerpiece to all of your meals should be protein. Protein is the most essential nutrient. The word protein actually comes from the Greek word proteos, which means of utmost importance. Like we have to have it every 2 or 3 hours because we can store carbohydrates for energy for later use as glycogen. We can store that in our muscle cells and our hepatocytes, which are liver cells. We can store fats, obviously we can store fats, right? Okay.
Obviously.
For later use.
Yeah.
Okay. We cannot store amino acids for later use. The only way to make sure that we have a readily supply of amino acids available for reconstitution and reconstruction and healing of the body is to make sure that we have some type of protein intake every 2 to 3 hours.
And when you say that, you're talking like for high level athletes who are really about to train.
If you want to go all the way, yes.
Got you. Because I know LeBron, he eats crazy like that. He'll eat every 2-3 hours. I know a lot of bodybuilders do that as well.
Right.
And it's crazy that we know a lot of us know that process. We hear about these athletes who do these crazy things and how they eat and all that kind of stuff, and yet we sit and say we want to be that guy.
Right.
I'm telling you, I don't think we know. I think we heard about it. I think we're aware.
Okay,
but to Andrew's point,
we don't want to know.
We don't want to know, and we're not taught this like in school. And your coach, no coach I ever had in my life has ever talked about nutrition to that degree and that level and how vital it is.
And even the training table that you get in college,
you're not doing none of that.
Only difference for us at getting a training table at State was we just ate the same food, just in a controlled area.
Yeah,
right. That's that. I mean, it wasn't like they were fixing us any.
Yeah, you said, you're in the most. I mean, certainly in a high school or even like a lower college, you don't have the football, the athletic meal plan or that meal line. You may have a separate weight room and this or that, but we eating the same crap everybody else eating.
But if you go to Alabama or Florida State,
that's different.
That's probably
a big difference.
So what I say to these people is, if you have posters of these people on your wall, and these are the people you want to play like, and you know that they do this, why are you trying to talk yourself out of doing it?
Wow.
And if the parents know that you need to do this, To be at an elite level, you need to do this. Like, your kid's special, but he's not so special that he can defy the rules of biochemistry.
Well, and the crazy thing too is, and we haven't gotten a chance to jump into the other area actually of the actual training.
I think this is the most important part.
I do too. I'm glad that we hit this, because everybody can train.
Yes.
And running is running.
Right.
You know, whether you're sprinting or doing miles, it is what it is, and it'll show.
Yes.
But at the core of it has to be the nutrition.
It's the most foundational part of the whole thing.
And
yes.
and again, the idea was trying to hit both, but the importance of the nutrition ends up taking over.
Yeah, we got to bring you back for another show to talk about that. But so let me ask you this. So bottom line.
Yes.
Bottom line.
Right.
You got two juniors as basketball, football players. They're great athletes.
Right.
Both of them equally greatest athlete.
Okay.
One, they train together. They're training hard.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But one eats average how everybody else eats, and the other one is eating how you're suggesting they should eat, far as their nutrition. So you're telling the audience, you're telling us that one who's eating correctly is going to ascend.
Right. Because the first thing that's going to happen is their metabolism is going to dramatically go up. That's why I talk about nutritional intake, and you've not heard me mention caloric intake one time. I don't count calories. I don't count them. When I do a nutrition plan for my athletes and my clients, I don't count calories, because calories are irrelevant, because I can manipulate your metabolism to burn more calories
by
2 or 3
by
weeks.
the nutrition.
Yeah. By the nutritional intake.
Wow, I never heard that, dude.
Yes, you have, because you watched Michael Phelps come in here and just destroy the entire planet when he did the Olympics, right? And he was eating about 10,000 calories a day.
Yeah.
You can look this up. And if you put a normal person on 10,000 calories a day, they're going to be obese within a year. But this man had a six-pack. He had a six-pack, and literally he didn't just win gold medals. He humiliated the entire planet.
Yes.
And he was intaking 10,000 calories a day. And the reason he was able to do that is because his metabolism, his metabolic rate was so high, he could not only consume that much food, his intestinal system could process it and then partition those nutrients to the tissues.
Ladies and gentlemen, I know for a fact that you probably didn't get all of that, but I think the core of that is vital information of understanding that there is work to do on the nutritional side.
Yeah, man.
With your child, with you, whomever. We just are horrible when it comes to the nutritional side.
It's embarrassing.
Yeah, it is, because I wouldn't even allow you to come through my kitchen. I wouldn't let you open no cabinets or nothing, because I'm gonna have to clean those out and change a whole bunch of stuff.
That's a different podcast, right?
We got to get you back though.
Yeah,
we got to you got to come back.
We definitely want to get you back.
We want to talk about the other half of it.
We want to come back. Side. If we can get you back and do the training side, we'd be extremely blessed and happy to have you back.
I'll be more than happy to come back anytime.
All right, we will get you back. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Follow us on Facebook at Let's Talk Carl Lee. Visit WCHSnetwork.com/Let's Talk for more.
Sponsorship opportunities are available. Contact Carl Lee at letstalk@promessage.com, Dale Cooper at dcooper@wvradio.com, or call 304-342-8131. Ask Carl a question or comment on current or previous episodes. Visit Let's Talk Carl Lee on Facebook. Like, rate, and subscribe from your podcast service to help more people find Let's Talk with Carl Lee. Now, back to the conversation.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We just, me and Hollis just got educated.
Got schooled, man.
We got schooled on nutrition, and we're definitely gonna have him back, man. We're gonna, because this is one of those kind of topics that I think is really, really super important for folks to understand nutrition and training. And like I said, we didn't even touch the training part of it. So I think everybody kind of knows that Nitro's girls basketball just
becoming a dynasty.
just became, state champions. I'm curious, Pat. Tell us a little bit about like how do you feel like as the game, and I'm saying this because I've never been in this position, okay? So tell me how as the clock's ticking away and you're starting to realize that this is just getting ready to happen, like we're getting ready to win this and become the state champions. What does that feel like? How do you feel knowing that
it's emotional?
I
won't lie. There was about probably a minute and some change left, and I mean Lewis County was shooting the ball outstanding the entire game, so I never really wanted to get excited and assume that it was already over. But with about a minute and some change left, I think Natalie hit a couple free throws and put us up about 8 or 9. And I thought, okay, I think we got this. And I kind of turned around and looked at my wife and took a deep breath, and I could kind of feel the eyes start to water, things like that. And, we got up with about 13 seconds left. I knew they were out of timeouts. I knew it was pretty much over.
Right.
But it's just emotional because of all the hard work and the dedication that not only the coaching staff puts in, but the players put in for an entire season. To see it pay off in the end and to win a state championship, it's a blessing.
I know Natalie, and I have seen her from a little kid growing up, and I wouldn't play her, man. I wouldn't play her one-on-one for nothing.
Yeah, so Natalie,
I mean, she can play.
Yeah, she improved so much through the season, and it just really came with trust, from the coaching staff. We worked with her. We told her what her role was going to be, what we needed her role to be. And in the beginning, Natalie was still, I'm going to shoot the three when I want, I'm going to do what I want. But once she understood her role and saw that she could get in the post and she could truly dominate inside the post, that's when her game really took off. And you could see a difference because her confidence would build inside, and then she could step outside and knock down some threes as well, because it was hard for a guard to guard her because we would move her to the post. Right. And then when you put a big on her, we brought her outside and she could either drive around the post or the big or pull up for a three. So that made the biggest difference. Was once she understood her role on the team, we really just started, it was a snowball effect. We just started rolling. The team came together as one.
So with that, because I think, to me, coaching in the modern era, to me, and I think football coaches are about to get it, but I think basketball coaches have the most difficult job, considering that you have kids who are fluid. Now you have positionless basketball. When we played in high school, middle school, whatever, a big was a big, a guard was a guard.
Right.
And now kids just think they should just be able to do all things, and a lot of them just like to sit behind that arc and shoot.
Right.
So, what was that sales job like? And say, hey, this is where you can be most effective. And not just for the young lady we're talking, but just for all your players.
It's hard for everybody. The 3-point line, I don't want to say ruin the game of basketball, but at the same time, all these kids think that they're point guards. And they see it on the NBA. They see LeBron, they see Kobe. They've seen everybody. So it makes it difficult as a coach to make these kids understand their role. Either you're a big or you're a guard. But in Natalie's, perspective, I mean, she could play both. Mm-hmm. And so it makes it easier as a coach, because if she can get her stamina up and get in the shape that you need her into, you can sub her in for a big, or you can sub her in at the guard. You can keep her at the big, and then when you sub someone in, move her to the guard. So it makes it easier from her standpoint. But then you got some of the kids that think they're bigs and they're 5'6", 5'7", and they want to go inside and try to pound away, but at the same time they go in there and get a shot block to here and there. Makes it a little difficult. But once you can get the team to understand their role, know their role on the court, makes it a lot easier for a coaching staff.
So this was your second championship. So how was this one? Because you won it in what you said 2021.
Yeah.
Then 2 years. Then you won it again.
Right.
And I think you went to did you go to the championship game in between?
No, we made it to the first round. The following year, we won it in 2021. We got knocked out in the first round in overtime.
Okay. So how was this championship different from the first one?
Or was it?
I mean, honestly, there wasn't much difference.
Okay.
I'm very superstitious. I was telling the newspaper at the end of the interview, the year we won it, we were a 3 seed. Mm-hmm. That same year, I had 2 girls quit. This year, I had 2 girls quit. That same year, I had a girl tear her ACL. This year, I had Carson Jones tear her ACL.
Wow.
That year, the boys' team made the state tournament. This year, the boys' team made the state tournament. Both were 3 seeds. So I'm superstitious. I look at things like that. And we were a 3 seed that year too. I've told everybody I'm 2-0 in the 9 o'clock in morning games, and I'm 0-2 in the evening games. So I like being that 3 seed if I can get that 3 seed. Nice. And we've won the state championship both years that we've been the 3 seed.
Wow, what do you think? What do you think is the structure? Because people talk about, and we've had this conversation, coming in, setting structure. You gotta create a culture. You got to get a culture in. Do you feel you have a culture, or do you feel like you have players that are understanding
the system
that you're bringing in?
Both. I feel like we have, and I'm not trying to put down any teams in the state. I feel like we have one of the best coaching staffs in the state.
Yes.
J.R. Kinney, before I took the position, I went to his house and sat down with him outside of his house and was just talking to him. And I said, there's an opportunity to go back to coaching, because I'd coached with him and Coach Whitten and Coach Clark at Capital for about probably 10 to 12 years prior to taking this position. And there was also an opportunity of possibly taking the Riverside boys job at the same time. So I went to his house and we were out back setting. I said, man, I got us an opportunity, but I'm not going to go without you. And he said, well, what is it? And I said, well, we could go to Riverside and be the boys coach, or we could go to Nitro and be the girls basketball coach. And he kind of looked at me and he said, man, let's go coach girls. And I went, huh? What? And he said, let's go coach girls. And he said, you had the opportunity at Riverside before, and they turned it down. They tossed you away. He said, let's go coach girls at Nitro. He said, I think we can make a difference. And I said, okay. I said, I'm going to ask Coach Swain too. And so I asked Coach Swain, and he turned me down. And so every year after that, we pestered Coach Swain to try to get Coach Swain to come out and help us, because we wanted to build a strong coaching staff. And finally, the first year we won the state championship, Coach Swain came on board. And I mean, since then we've gone up. My brother's one of my assistants also. My dad does the scorebook. We've got Steve Ash from DuPont. He does all my scouting, all my stats, keeps up to everything. He lets me know when plays are being called out and where the players are going to on the court, and I don't even have to worry about it because he's always right.
So you got a team within a team.
Right, we've got a team. I mean, I call myself bad cop because I like to yell a lot. JR's the good cop because he's the soft, understanding one and tells them, more gently. My brother's like the hype man. He gets them fired up during timeouts, before games, and things like that. And Coach Swain, we call him the Hall of Famer, because he's been around so long. He's won so many games, coached so many games that, he knows where to put kids in at any time. So I feel like the coaching staff alone is what's helped build the program, and the community and the administration at Nitro trusting in us to do it.
Give me a little bit, because we want to get Coach Swain on the show. I actually talked to him. I think it was at the rec center. He was sitting down, and we were side to side and ended up started having a conversation, because I had never met him. Yeah. And I texted Hollis about it and said, man, I talked to, Coach Swain, and he's an old schooler that, to me, that old school he has a way to have it fit. Like, oh yeah, he's not changing, but he has a way to make it fit.
He can make it work.
And he'll tell you that. He'll tell you that. He walks into practice sometime. He'll be like, I don't like you, and then he'll turn and be like, I really do like her, but I need her to work a little harder. But at the same time, he'll walk over and hug him. I mean, he's a kid at heart. Yeah. I mean, he may be in his 60s, early 70s. I don't know with Coach Swain. He'll never tell you his true age. But he's a kid at heart. And you've got to love him and his energy that he brings to every game. Heck, we've even got his son, Isaiah, as our water boy. So we try to make it, as much family as we can down there. And that's one of our biggest mottos is family. And I think that's what helps with the atmosphere and everything on the team and the camaraderie. We don't do drama, things like that. We put it to bed early, and we relate to the kids. That's one of the biggest things that I say anywhere and everywhere. If you can relate to the kids, you can get along with the kids and the parents, and everyone gets along. Makes it a lot easier as a coach.
Let me one question. I want to make a bold statement here, because you talked about you and Kenny talked about taking the girls' job over the boys' job. And what I'm seeing in high school, even middle school to a degree, and definitely in college, is that the girls' game is better than the boys. Yeah. Bar outside of the professional ranks.
Yeah. I mean, I was nervous. I won't lie going into it, because I'd never coached girls. I coached freshman boys basketball at Nitro at Capital for probably 10 to 12 years. Yeah. and I was just an assistant coach. I was learning from Coach Kenny, Coach Clark, Coach Witten was there when I was there also. So I was really just learning and taking notes from it. And to this day, I tell everyone, I still don't know everything about basketball. I still learn from Coach Kenny. I still learn from Coach Swain. I still learn from other coaches. But Coach Kenny and Coach Swain have more wins as assistant coaches than most high school, coaches today. So I still learn from them, and I'm not going to take all the credit for all these wins and for these state championships. I couldn't do any of this without them.
To Hollis's point about girls' sports are starting to stand out front because I think that the girls, the players that you have on those teams are true team players, even though they may be the best players.
That's a good point.
Because I think when you start going over to us as boys, men, if I'm good, I want to be the guy. It's about me, and don't throw the ball to Hollis because I know what's going to happen if he gets it. I think we've kind of maybe starting to lose a little bit of an edge, and then I saw a bunch of clips today of college basketball, pro basketball, of players getting in arguments, fighting, pushing, shoving, tripping, kicking.
Which I thought was,
I think girls basketball is starting to come to the forefront, especially in West Virginia. I think girls basketball, the competition level has really grown over the last few years, and I think it goes back to your Hornbuckle, your Montgomerys, your Megan Withrow. I think that they really started building it, and I think it's just grown so much since then. And now you got 4 classes, you got more opportunities to see more different levels of girls basketball too.
And even at the collegiate level, we have Marshall, who I think probably going to make the tournament. At the Division II level,
they made it. They made it.
Okay.
They won today.
And then we have State. They made the tournament, national tournament. Fairmont made the national tournament. I think UC might have made it too. So I think from, like you said, from high school, middle school, all the way to the college level, within the state of West Virginia, women's basketball is really good to watch.
No, I agree. What's crazy is I don't even watch as much boys basketball as I used to.
Yeah,
I watched Caitlin Clark. I was just watching her yesterday.
If she's on, I'm watching.
Girls basketball,
South Carolina.
It's crazy that you coach basketball for 9 or 10 years at Capitol, and then you turn around and now all of a sudden you're sitting at home with your wife and kids, and you're like, I'm watching girls basketball. I don't even watch the NBA as much anymore. I'm watching college girls basketball.
I don't even watch sports, but if I see Iowa's on, I'm sitting there. I'm watching it.
I was sitting at home yesterday folding laundry, and I was watching TV, and a buddy texted me, said, "You watching the Iowa game?" I was like, I didn't even know it was on. So and then I turned the Iowa game on and started watching the rest of the Iowa game, and then as soon as it went off, LSU's girls came on against South Carolina, and I started watching the rest. I watched all of it.
I was on the phone watching State play Fairmont in the MEC championship. Women's. So it's girls basketball is just it's really good.
It's growing, and you really have to highly respect where that talent level has gone.
Yeah.
I mean, because go back and try to give me your perspective of back when you were coaching at Riverside boys Capital,
yeah,
and you were looking at the skill set, and now when you come full circle to Nitro and you're watching the girls, how much difference does it even look?
I was just telling someone a few months back how the pace of girls high school basketball has really picked up over the last few years. I mean, years ago you'd see high school games in the regular season, you'd see 30s to 40s, 36-40, 30-36. And now a lot of high school regular season games, now obviously postseason more of the defensive picks up, things like that. You're getting your 40s and 50s, but you're seeing high school games in the 60s, 70s, and 80s now. So, I mean, the pace of the game has really picked up over the last few years, and that's one of our goals too. We want to play a fast pace, get up and down the floor and score a game. We don't want to bring it up and slow the ball down. If we can get the ball up the floor and in transition and make some layups, we'd rather do that than come up and slow the game down. We want to tire the opponent down, and I think that's what girls basketball has came to, is just becoming the fast-paced game like the boys' game, just to get out and go, and whoever can score the most wins.
Yeah, I like that because I know that side. Like, for example, the coach at Marshall, the coach at State, they run that, even at Glenville as well, they run that 5-in, 5-out type of thing, and the pace is blistering, which makes the game go faster, and it's just fun to watch.
And that's what Marshall coach has done. She went to Glenville, and now she's doing the same thing at Marshall still.
See, can you imagine back in the day, subbing 5 in and 5 out.
That was unheard of.
No, it's
that was
crazy.
a faux
I think
pas.
Coach Marshall does the same thing at West Virginia State too. Yeah.
Same thing at State.
I would never. That could never happen.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't think any coach at that point in time would have ever thought that we could get to this place where you could have 5 on, 5 off.
Right.
Yeah.
That could
I
be,
agree.
That would have been virtually impossible to do. Whether or not it was possible, that wasn't in their mindset.
So let me ask you a question as far as being a coach, and this is something that we've covered on this show probably ad nauseum. When we talk about, AAU, when we talk about, playing in the summer, different things of that nature, what is your advice as a coach to your players, to your girls? Like, is it something where you're saying, hey, just get as many games as you can, develop a skill set? What are you looking for those girls to do in the off season?
Or get away from the game itself and take a break.
Or play another sport.
I
or whatever.
want them to play. I'm 2-sport, 3-sport. I don't care how many sports you play. As long as you're out, you're doing something. A lot of my girls play travel ball, and I'm all for it. I just want them to be careful. Obviously, I don't want them to get injured in the off season because my season is just as important. But at the same time, I know these travel coaches and the girls also want to get out there and get recognized by these colleges and get these offers so they can post them on their social media and stuff like that. So I'm all for my girls going out and playing as much ball as they can, as long as they take precautionary and they don't do it to the point to where they're weakening muscles or risking tearing an ACL or rolling an ankle. Anything that keeps them from playing in high school, that worries me. But as just the high school coach, I can't really control what they're going to do in the off season. That's up to the parents and what they want to do. I'm just the coach.
That sounds like a mental health approach. Like, hey, I can't control all that.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna give you my advice, and whatever you choose to take it.
And see, and that's what we were talking about earlier in the show. We were talking about the risk versus the reward, I guess, when you're playing so many games, and then how do you with the nutrition piece to it, how do you manage that to be fit?
Right. And I'm sure a lot of these kids aren't eating healthy after games.
No.
I'm sure it's Burger King, McDonald's, and whatever fast food drive-thru
on the way home.
Right. Yeah. I know several of my kids still do this in high school, and I can't control what they eat either.
I know that I working at the rec, and I see South Charleston High School's men's basketball team come in. Sometimes they're coming in, they got a bag from somewhere because they didn't pick something up on their way to practice, and they're eating it prior to practice. Like practice might be in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And
I've had girls walking in eating Blizzards from Dairy Queen right down the street. And I'm like, we're getting ready to practice, and y'all's over here shoving ice cream in your mouth, which I can't talk. I've walked in eating a Blizzard before, too. I'm not the type of person to say you shouldn't be eating a Blizzard, but I'm also not going to run, upbacks, pro sprints, side bleachers, and all that either. So
you're blowing the
if
whistle.
your stomach can handle it, I know mine's going to, because I'm going to be sitting over here at the scoreboard.
Yeah. And I think that maybe that's the evolution. That's probably the next step of athletic development and training. Because I think, as far as, when we growing up, you didn't have like there's many trainers and stuff. You kind of had to figure it out on your own, or just like you said, play ball. So I think now that we have a good set of trainers and parents and kids who are thinking like it, I believe the next evolution is going to be, okay, well, how can I really set myself apart? And I think that's where nutrition.
I think it's the biggest thing, that and getting in the gym. The weight room. I told my girls every year, like, the off season is when you can become who you truly want to be, and you can't do that during the season because it's hard. You don't have time to get in the weight room or watch what you're eating. But if you could start it in the off season, like right now, we don't do anything until June. If you could start prepping now, get in the weight room and lift some weights. I'm not saying go in there and max out and stuff like that, but just start getting your body stronger and preparing for next season. That would help also, especially with all the travel ball you're doing. It's going to help at least
that's
strengthen
the
some
nutrition.
muscles.
That's the nutrition and the actual training. That we just touched on the nutrition piece of it earlier again, as we had mentioned before. But the training aspect of it, I think that we've lost the idea of training as much as we think like playing. Like I'd rather. I don't know if there's. I don't know if I'm gonna say this the right way. I don't know if you get better playing a game versus training. You know what I'm saying?
I disagree with that.
I believe in conditioning and everything preseason, but I don't know if kids nowadays believe in. I think they think, well, I can just get in shape on the court. I don't need to go and run the track or run bleachers, and it's hard, especially in the off season, to get these kids to come to Nitro and just run some bleachers. But at the same time, as a coach, you got to build that team camaraderie. You got to build that relationship and make them understand.
And unfortunately, you have
we
to
want to win a state championship. These are the things you have to do in the off season.
And see, and the reason why I say that is when I get the coach, I'm going to be already ready.
Yeah.
So whatever he decides to put us through, whether it's a game, whether it's a scrimmage, whatever it is, I've spent my time training. Mm-hmm. And if I'm training and I'm taking in all the nutrition that I'm supposed to do, if I create that structure until time to play, I'm going to be better. I'm going to be better off than most of the kids who are just playing.
See, I think you got to define training, because I think kids now, when they say training, they're talking about skill development. Yeah. And I think they're actually doing that to a certain degree. Now, they may not be coming in shape as far as being in cardiovascular and ready to take that pounding, but I think skill development they are doing. Are they
I give you that.
Running the bleachers? Are they lifting how they supposed to? Maybe not. Are they playing games? Depends on kind of what they're doing. Because I know, when we growing up, that's all you did was play. Mm-hmm. That's how you got.
And there's a lot of trainers in the area too that work with the kids on their basketball conditioning and stuff too.
Do you think that when it comes down to training or playing, and not necessarily in a game, but you go to the rec and you pick up and you just play. Does training matter more than, let's say I played 10 games of pickup basketball and I trained 10 days training? Where am I better at?
I don't think conditioning and running, you could run upbacks in practice
and still not be good.
But I don't think that conditions you for what you're doing in a basketball game.
Okay.
I think there's a big difference. I think, the way you run in a basketball game, you're sprinting one way, then you may have to turn instantly and sprint back to the other end of the floor you may have gotten a steal or a turnover, and then you're playing defense the whole time. I don't think that running an upback's not going to illustrate, make any difference in that.
Okay, so.
But it does help, but I don't think it's going to.
So
for
the most, I've never seen. Okay, I've never seen. You may have seen it. I don't think I've seen it. When I watch people train for basketball, it's shooting.
Yeah,
shooting and dribbling, making moves to the basket.
Yeah.
Everybody's not going to be the shooter. Somebody's going to be the defensive guy. Somebody's got to be able to play, or girl. Speak to us real quick on. Is there something that you can do to help your defense, a way to practice or something? Is there any way that you know of that is helpful so that?
In our practices, we do a lot of, one-on-one turns, forcing, defensive slides, trapping, things like that. But as far as defensive-wise, I don't really know of a whole lot. We spread them out on the court, and we'll do defensive slides we'll put 5 to 10 minutes on the clock, work on positions and changing, pointing in different directions, move with the ball, move with the whistle. We'll go one-on-one, work on sprinting down and turning them one way, forcing them, and then turn them the other way, things like that. But as far as if you're in the gym by yourself, I don't really know defensive-wise, unless you just want to stand there in the lane and just do some defensive slides and touch the lanes back and forth.
Yeah, I think that's more of a 1-2 thing.
Right, yeah. I think you'd have to have at least, a partner there with you to work with you, or a trainer or something like that.
Usually there's like a dad or something.
I'm sure there's something out there, and I'm missing it. Somebody will come to me and say, "Hey, you can definitely do this," and I
just always have thought, there's always footwork that you can do, and footwork obviously would transition into the defensive side of it. I've always kind of looked at it that way, and I don't see people.
Right. I think ladder drills may help maybe with some defense too. I know Coach Witten came down before he went to South Charleston, and he worked my girls out 3 or 4 times, maybe 2 or 3 days a week for probably a month or more on the football field, doing all kinds of speed and agility drills and footwork drills and things like that.
That's where you get in shape also. Yeah. Being an athlete.
Yeah.
Coach, man, congratulations.
Thank you.
Ring number 2.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, man. So we're going for the 3. We're going for number 3 next year, right?
We only lost 1 player, so we get everybody back but 1. So I think we got a good shot. We're going to come out in the off season and prepare.
Well, congratulations and good luck.
I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get off of here. We will be back with you again soon.
The opinions expressed on this program do not necessarily reflect the opinions of WVRC Media, its management, employees, or sponsors. Follow us on Facebook at Let's Talk Carl Lee. Visit WCHSnetwork.com/Let's Talk for more.